Well, look what showed up in my area, to my utter surprise and astonishment. Behold, Generations Thunderwing, and I'm ready to review it for all of you, so sit back and enjoy. Now, the first thing I want to point out, this does not look anything like G1 Thunderwing's vehicle mode. I mean, it's much more of a contemporary jet, which is very obvious to see. But it doesn't have any of the bulk, and it doesn't have that space-age feel that the G1 did. Also, not nearly as much blue, whereas this shade of blue pretty much dominated the entire vehicle mode. It's just a detailing here. They went with a far more normal color scheme. Also gone are the traces of red and the big, huge gold block here in the back, though they did leave a little bit in here on the top. So, you know, the deco aside, it is still a really cool looking jet. I mean, we've had a ton of different jet transformers lately, but I can say this is a little bit more unique with these dual directional wings going from back to up. Very unique, and that is reminiscent of the G1 toy. So are these huge missile launchers on the undersides of the wings. So, even though there is not much of the G1 vehicle here, there is still some, so still give them credit for that. Let's not review it for what it once was, let's review it for what it is, because this is still a pretty freaking cool jet. You got a completely molded in cockpit now, which they do regularly. I'm really happy to see this. You can start to see some of the molded detailing here, like the little tiny guns there, which also have guns here, more guns there, missiles. This guy is loaded. He is a flying arsenal, and it is a gorgeous thing to see. He's got a lot of things going for him, too. You can see the air intakes there. This is one of the major detailing points in vehicle mode. You can see this scaling pattern, these zigzag lines. Now, you can see it all the way. There it is on the nose, below the cockpit, above the cockpit, more all the way across. This scaling pattern here, more of it. Of course, the rear is that entire design detail. You can see more under the wings. You can see them there on the guns. I mean, they went hog wild on this concept. It doesn't look bad. It does give it this kind of creepy, scaled look, which kind of plays into his more organic nature from... well, it's not organic, but meant to look that way. I lost a point here somewhere. I'm not quite sure where. I will let you know if I ever find it. He's got a couple gimmicks in this mode too, of which only one anyone cares about. Though I'm going to mention the other first. He does have firing missiles, which fire from the button on the underside. And they're pretty typical missiles. No flame detailing or anything like that. But that's not what anyone cares about. What we care about is this. The scouting drone. The first thing I'm going to point out here, the instructions say pull it off this way. Do not do that. Something will give and it will not be the drone piece itself. Now, you have to kind of wiggle it out because it's not held on the way the instructions say. It's held on by two clips on the underside of the cockpit. So you really have to wiggle it downward in order to release it. You know, I'd be scared to pull this thing clean. Something would snap. But here's the little drone unit, meant to look like the smaller Thunderwing in vehicle mode. You can see the orange representing the cockpit, and he's got the blue wings, and, well, aside from the basic shape, that's pretty much it. A lot of those sticker details didn't make it. He's got a lot of different details on him, though. He's got his own air intakes. He's got little, I assume they're, well, very tiny details. You know, you can pretend they're missile batteries or whatnot. I have no idea what they are. He gets his little guns, though, and molded in engine in the back, completely painted, too. And, yes, more of the zigzag. It's everywhere on this toy. You can't escape it. Now, while this is neat, it's been a while since we had a little drone gimmick working for us. I really wish it could have transformed into a little robot. Even if it was just a simple, you know, Micromaster level of transformation and articulation. It would have better represented the whole pretender thing, a robot hiding inside of a robot. And really, I think the budget for these firing missiles really could have gone toward that. If this were just like normal plain guns that the original came with, I'd be fine with it. That budget could have been made into making the scout drone a little bit more interesting. It would have been nice. But again, that's what it could have been, not what it is. And it is still a very cool jet toy. But how is it as a robot? Well, that's next. Now to robot mode, where he really doesn't look like his old toy. They've taken a lot of liberties with the colors here at first glance. A lot of the blue has been replaced by purple, and the gray arms have now been turned green. The hip guards, which were formerly purple, are now green. The hips, which were black, are now green, and whew. Though there is a reason for this. Remember, of course, this guy was more known for the Marvel Comics run, where, yeah, he did have green arms on occasion, and I will be fair, his vehicle mode was primarily white. It didn't even have any blue during its appearances. So technically, this Thunderwing is more along the lines of Dark Mountain Drift being more comic book based than toy based. So, I can deal with it. You can see he does retain a lot of the detailing that he had in all of his incarnations. The different detailing on his chest, that bright green color. His championship belt retained its style and design and colors. He's got a ton of detailing and extra paintwork going on too. You can see along the arms where he's got a little bit more of the gold paint app, as well as those tubings on his legs, and even the insides of his legs have been painted, which is really nice. I remember during the Cybertron run when little details like that got cut all the time. Now, it's nice to see they can actually come to form with that. It actually has a very nice wing pack too. I really like this since you can either fold it away, give him the more traditional wings of a something you'd be used to on a Seeker. No, we're sick of Seekers. Let's see him all splayed out. That's better. A lot of the details he had in the Marvel comics aren't present here, but he does have things like that jagged open mouth and the bright orange eyes that he had during the Stormbringer comics, which I'm not against. They were fine comics, really elevated the character into modern times. But that mouth, it's a wide open mouth, like he's screaming at something, but since it's completely painted, you can barely tell. It looks more like a Michael Bay style faceplate. I really wish they had painted that in black, or better yet, put the light piping in there so it glowed gold or orange, just like his eyes do, which I don't normally point out, but the light piping is actually really good on this one. The transformation is pretty simple, so articulation is actually where he makes up for it. You do have the full range of motion in the neck, though it's on this strange little diagonal joint. You can actually raise the head a little bit. You've got outward shoulders as well as the bicep swivel. You got the elbows and wrists. Not often you see the deluxes with the wrists. The hip articulation, very good. The hips, the shin guards actually move completely out of the way, so you've got all this motion. Again with the swivel, again with the knee, and yes, there's a slight ankle. So you can actually position him with a splayed open legs, a more natural look, and position him however you want. Because of the transformation, his toes fold up too, so you can also get a few poses with those. Articulation-wise, it's fine until you get to the shoulders. Unfortunately, because of these pieces, his shoulders can't move out all that far. They will instantly bump into that backpack at the 45-degree angle. In order to get anything else, you kind of have to mistransform him and leave it open. That's the only way you're going to get these to go full rotation. That's unfortunate, especially since he still has his weapons in this mode. Now, true to the comic book, you can leave them stuck up here, since they're supposed to represent those big fat things that used to be my Pretender arms on the backs of his wings, or he can hold it, even though it is a very small peg to hold on to. So you can have it either way you want. He can either have the huge guns that he had in the G1 toy, or the huge back cannons. But it is unfortunate that it has to be mistransformed in order to get it that way. Bottom line, He's an alright deluxe. He's a very unique addition to the current generation's lineup and really adds some variety to the classic style Decepticons that have been pretty lacking, to be honest. Now, if you're after an upgrade of the original G1 toy, he does a fair job, but not perfect, since there are a lot of missing details. But, of course, he's based on the comic book, and if you're after that, which, it's Thunderwing, so why wouldn't you? He is a really nice update. The few flaws with his articulation aside, he's a really nice toy, and I'm really thrilled that this is one of the toys that I got to see first at Botcon, which makes having him in my hands all the more special. Speaking of special, it looks like we're going to go even more obscure. That's Black Shadow. The head and chest completely remolded to match his Japanese version, since this version of Thunderwing never came out in Japan. So they are actually going more obscure than Straxus. I can't believe it. I actually love Hasbro again for things like this. Boy, and no, it's not Armada Megatron. You'll see it when it comes out, trust me, it's going to be awesome.